Hey everyone, welcome back to Can I Just Say? Today we are going to dive deep into self-discovery, our intuition, and breaking down the barriers that keep us from embracing our true power. But first, let's see what's happening in the stars. So we have a new moon in Pisces on Thursday. We also just had Mars go direct in Cancer on Sunday, which is kind of telling us to slow down, remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint, which is completely perfect for the energy of this new moon. Cancer and Pisces are our most intuitive and emotional signs, so lots of emotions this week probably. But if you remember from the full moon in Leo we had 2 weeks ago, the new moons are for when we want to plant seeds and begin manifesting. So with this new moon being in Pisces, the new beginnings we are looking at are around allowing inspiration to come from unexpected sources, trusting our intuition, and also asking ourselves, if failure weren't an option, what would I do? And then trusting that the inspiration to step into that life will come to you the more that you relax and accept instead of trying to control and force. We are going to tackle a topic today that sparks curiosity and excitement, and let's be honest, a little bit of fear. We are going to talk about tarot today. There are so many misconceptions about tarot cards, from fears of dark forces to myths about it predicting the future. So let's clear some things up and show how tarot can actually be a beautiful tool for self-reflection and empowerment. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here and explain my story into how I got into tarot. So back in 2020, when the world basically stopped, I fell into the esoteric stuff like a lot of people did. I was taking my yoga teacher training online, and they were talking about the chakras, which I had heard about before but didn't really have a deep understanding of. So I started looking more into them outside of the training and began to rabbit hole down all of the spiritual, metaphysical, all of those whatever you want to call witchy things, and somehow I got my first oracle deck. Now, oracle is a little bit different than tarot. They both offer guidance, but oracle decks are all different and can be created to have any number of cards with any number of meanings to them. But after getting my first oracle deck, I started looking more into tarot and bought my first tarot deck. And I started to learn about what all of the cards meant, how to read them, the different card spreads, all of that good stuff. And there, I found I was good at it. I don't have the easiest time retaining information that I learned from reading. Like, I was never, the best kid in school. But with tarot, it was a piece of cake for me. It was like I was more so unlocking knowledge I already had. I just needed the catalyst to get to those memory banks. I was pulling a card or two for myself every day, and the repetition helped me to learn what the cards meant. Then I discovered I was good at telling the story from the cards and started doing readings for my friends. That's what led me to where I am now, where it's one of the most used modalities that I've collected over the years. Let's start with the basics. What is tarot? Despite what the movies might have us believe, tarot isn't about crystal balls or spooky predictions or some sort of secret power or something that psychics only have access to. Tarot is simply a deck of 78 cards filled with symbolism and meaning. Think of it like a mirror reflecting your thoughts and emotions and your subconscious mind. It helps you ask the right questions, reflect on your path, and gain insight. It's not to tell you what's going to happen with absolute certainty. I won't go way back into the history of tarot in the 15th century, but I'll start with just a little bit of history with our most recognizable deck, and the one that I use the most frequently, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith teamed up to create this deck, and it was first published in 1909 by William Ryder and Son. Arthur Waite was a Freemason, a mystic, and a poet who studied the history of Western esotericism, which helped encourage the development of different schools of thought outside of Christianity in the Judeo-Christian areas of the world. Arthur met Pamela in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was a secret society of people devoted to practicing and studying Hermeticism. Many of the rituals and magic that we see in Wicca today is believed to have been inspired by the Golden Dawn. So Pamela Coleman Smith was an artist, a writer, an illustrator, and an occultist who illustrated the 78-card deck. It became a standard among tarot card readers and, to this day, remains the most widely used deck. She's often overlooked or removed from the history of the deck, but her initials can be seen on the illustrations of the cards. So, as I've mentioned, each tarot deck consists of 78 cards. 22 of those cards are considered the major arcana, and 56 of them are the minor arcana. The major arcana are typically considered to be the cards that correspond to the person receiving the reading. It tells the fool's journey from beginning to end. The minor arcana is similar to a standard playing card deck, but only in the sense that it has 4 suits, with each suit ranging from ace to king. That's where the similarities end. Tarot's 4 suits are cups, pentacles, swords, and wands. These all tell their own story from beginning to end through each suit as well, but these cards can show information about other people in regards to your situation. Every tarot deck, regardless of illustration, has 78 cards, and each card has the same meaning across decks. So a card like the Death card in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck means the same thing as the Death card in, say, an Alice in Wonderland deck, which, yes, those exist. The Wands cards represent fire energy, which is our action and our movement. The Swords are about what we think and how we communicate, and that is air energy. Pentacles are earth energy and represent all of our material things like our home, job, career, finances, all that kind of stuff, and where we find stability. And Cups are water energy and are about our emotions and relationships. Each card has a specific meaning, but it also has a lot of leeway to it. Reading a tarot spread is about building a story. It's looking at the cards laid out with their meanings and bringing them into one harmonious story to tell. So I never consider myself a fortune teller. I consider myself a storyteller. I use tarot to help clear the fog away from cloudy situations. I have worked hard for the level of discernment that I have at looking at situations now, but there are still times that I can't see beyond my own pain or my boxed-in beliefs or feelings, and the cards will always show me a different perspective. The perspective was there all along. The cards were just a tool to help me see outside of my limiting beliefs. So let's talk about some fears and misconceptions about tarot. The first one is that tarot is evil or connected to dark forces. It's probably the number one fear that I've seen from people, and I totally understand because I used to believe this as well. Many of us grew up hearing that tarot was linked to the occult, witchcraft, or demonic forces, but here's the truth. Tarot is just a tool. It's like a journal or a meditation. It's about introspection, not about summoning spirits. In fact, many readers use tarot as a tool for mindfulness and personal growth. While tarot is still used for divination or fortune telling still to this day, there are many of us now who look at tarot as simply a tool to help us understand a situation or a circumstance from a different perspective. Myself, as a tarot reader, I do read spreads that contain quote-unquote future positions, but I always preface my readings that the future is not set in stone and you have free will. Anything you decide can change your course at any moment. Just because the cards say one thing doesn't mean that it's the definite outcome. I also do not do readings solely to predict any sort of future events. I have found that for me, the cards become unclear and confusing. For any cards in future positions, the story typically unfolds based on what the other cards are showing, and it's more about what could happen if you continue doing what you're doing right now, or if you make the changes the cards are showing. What could possibly happen for you? Tarot does not predict the future. It shows possible outcomes based on your current energy and your current choices. Think of it as sort of like a GPS. It shows the route, but you decide how to drive it. The next fear that I see is, what if I get a scary card? The classic fear of pulling the death card. The death card rarely means literal death. It represents things like transformation, endings, and new beginnings. So kind of like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. And cards like the Tower, they represent big shifts which can feel chaotic but often lead to breakthroughs. So instead of seeing these as omens, think of them as guidance for growth. There are no bad cards in tarot. There has been a lot of exaggeration over the years of fortune telling. I'm sure readers back in the traveling carnival days threw lots of pizzazz into their readings to have fun with their clients, but it's not so over the top anymore. A lot of times for me, I sit on the floor in my sweats and a half-cold coffee to ask my cards questions. So going off of this, I also have seen people worry about, what if tarot tells me something bad? A lot of people avoid tarot because they're scared of hearing bad news. But tarot isn't about all of the doom and gloom. It's about perspective. It does not dictate your fate. It highlights the possibilities. It's a conversation with your intuition, not a sentence written in stone. You always have the power to change your path. I'm not here to instill any fear. I'm here to try and help you remove obstacles around your situation. But I will never sugarcoat what the cards say either. If you come to me asking about your toxic boyfriend, and I pull the Three of Swords card, which is about heartbreak, I am going to be honest and tell you that not only is that man probably going to break your heart, but you are also breaking your own heart, staying in a situation you know you shouldn't be in. The next misconception is that tarot opens the door to spirits. Some people worry that using tarot invites spirits or negative energy. The truth is, tarot itself is neutral. It is literally just a deck of cards. Some people use it spiritually, others use it psychologically, and some people use it just for fun. Your intention is what matters. Your intention is what matters for all of this. If you approach tarot with curiosity and an open mind, it can be an incredible tool for insight and self-awareness. Tarot does not call upon any sort of spirits or the supernatural. There are some clairvoyant readers out there, but the cards themselves are inanimate. They are not evil or bad. It depends how they are being used. The cards are a tool to help show you to trust your intuition. It's very similar to meditation or journaling. If you sit with yourself long enough, the answer usually comes. But sometimes it's unbearable to sit with this situation any longer, and we need a little nudge out of the current mindset. And the last misconception, just for a little bit of fun, is that you shouldn't buy your own deck. It's a fun myth, but it's totally false. You can buy your own deck, and in fact, choosing a deck that resonates with you can make your readings even more powerful. I believe that's just some silly superstition made up to deter people from buying their own tarot decks. It's possible it started because when it became easier to buy tarot decks in like the 90s or early 2000s, anyone and everyone was jumping in on a new fad and buying the cards with no knowledge of what they were or how to use them. So they didn't connect with the deck, which then could have created the superstition that if you buy your own first deck, you won't get answers from it or connect with it. In reality, I personally have probably 10 different tarot decks, and there are a few I don't connect with yet. Or I have a few that I used to connect with that I don't so much anymore. Now that we've kind of gone through some of those myths around tarot, I'd like to do a quick little exercise. If you have a deck, shuffle your cards and pull one. If you don't, just imagine your question you'd like insight on. Once you have your card, take a deep breath, look at the imagery, and ask yourself, what message is here for me? Trust your intuition and journal about this. No fear, no pressure, just reflection. For those who want to try this exercise with a card and you don't have your own tarot deck, the thumbnail for this podcast is of the card that I pulled for you if you wish to use it. A basic description of the card meaning will be in the caption for you to expand and reflect on. I hope that this episode has helped ease some fears and clear up some misunderstandings about tarot from my perspective. Remember that tarot is a tool, nothing more, nothing less. It's about self-awareness, growth, and tapping into your own inner wisdom. So if you've been curious but hesitant, I encourage you to explore it with an open mind. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay curious and trust yourself. I'll see you next time.